Derajat. Okay. Okay, thank you, Mbak Fitri Wahyuni. Yeah, thank you very much. So this is the milestone of IFRS convergence in Indonesia. First of all, we are as a member of G20. I'm sure you you already knew that at the moment we even hold the presidency of G20. And as a member of G20, Indonesia is committed to have a milestone or to have to pursue for the convergence or adoption to the IFRS or International Financial Reporting Standard. So I will call IFRS as IFRS. If I'm saying IFRS, that means IFRS. And as a member of G20, in the year of 2008, we have a commitment to achieve one global accounting standard. So through the finance minister, Indonesia has put its commitment to achieve one global accounting standard. And then as a process in the year of 2012 or 2012, Indonesia has achieved the first phase, fase 1, the first phase of convergence, in which the accounting standard at the moment, or our SAK, in 1st of January 2012, is convergent with IFRS as of 1st of January 2009. So you note here that in 1st of January 2012, we are referring to, or we are actually convergent with IFRS as of 1st January 2009. So that means there are 3 years gap. IFRS already issued and become effective on the 1st of January 2009, and we convergent with that standard by 1st of January 2012. So we had 3 years gap, or we are late for around 3 years. That means, okay. And then in 2015, or in the year of 2015, we already achieved phase 2 of the convergence, in which our accounting standard is convergent with IFRS as of 1st of January 2014. So what does that mean? That means by the 1st of January 2015, our accounting standard is already convergent with the International Financial Reporting Standard, which are become effective on the 1st of January 2014. So that means we have 1 year gap only. So we already, or the standard is already, the gap is already narrowed down from 3 years into 1 year at that time. All right. And then next, in the year of 2016, we have joint statement, or Indonesia signed a joint statement between the OJK, the Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, the Financial Service Authority, we call it as OJK in Indonesia, and then IFRS Foundation. They have a joint statement that they will achieve the full convergence. Okay, and then in the year of 2018, our accounting standard by the 1st of January 2018 is substantially convergent with the IFRS standards as of 1st of January 2017. So again, we have a 1 year gap with the International Financial Reporting Standard. All right. And then in the year of 2020, just like 1.5 years ago, our accounting standard as of 1st of January 2020 is substantially convergent with IFRS in the same period. So we narrowed down the gap. So we are running, actually trying to catch the International Financial Reporting Standard and narrow down the gap. Why there's a gap? You can imagine when there's a standard issued by the International Accounting Standard Board, which one of their product is the International Financial Reporting Standard. All those standards are written in English, and then they have different background of industry, they have different landscape, they have different culture, they have different legal system, etc. So when we are going to convergent, or we are going to adopt the standard, we really need to think about Indonesian situation. We need to measure whether we will adopt this, whether we will adopt everything, or whether we need to modify anything. And then we also need to think about how to translate from English IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard, into the Indonesian language. And translating does not mean only translating, but it has to be a consistent translation from the first standard to the other. So it has to be consistent all through the whole standards that we have. So it's not a small issue, and therefore we have this gap, and we try really hard to narrow down the gap. Okay, and why do we need to adopt on or convergent with IFRS? As I mentioned before, it's a commitment as a G20 member. Indonesia is a member of G20, and also because the report by the World Bank, the ROSE report by the World Bank recommends the full IFRS convergence since 2011. So there's a high pressure or high push that we need to convergent with the International Financial Reporting Standard. Okay, so what about now? Now we are in the year of 2022, or in the year of 2022. We try to we do our best effort to fulfill the commitment. So at the moment you have that Saki picture at the right hand side in the green bubble. That means the Standar Akuntansi Keuangan Internasional, or that means this is the time for us to adopt the International Financial Reporting Standard. Because why? Because the convergence of our financial accounting standard into the IFRS is not the same with the full adoption. So again, convergence is different from full adoption. So we cannot say we are fully adopting IFRS before 2022. Why? Because we are converging with the International Financial Reporting Standard. We are converging, we are not fully adopting. So what's the difference? The difference is in the convergence of the Financial Reporting Standard, we still have some differences. So our accounting standard actually referring to International Financial Reporting Standard and substantially similar, but we still have some major differences. What are those differences? There are at least 3 types of differences. First one is we have the Sharia accounting standard, which is also included in our accounting standard. Whereas the IFRS, or the International Financial Reporting Standard, actually does not cover Sharia accounting standard. So that's one difference. So you can imagine if one entity in Indonesia has a Sharia unit business, for example, or have a Sharia subsidiary, then they will be involved in Sharia accounting or Sharia transaction, right? And then the Sharia transaction has to be recognized and measured according to the SAK Sharia, or the Sharia accounting standard, right? So that means the entity then will combine between the financial accounting standard and Sharia accounting standard. That is possible in Indonesia, but that is not covered by the International Financial Reporting Standard. Okay, so you understand that's the first difference, because we include the Sharia accounting standard in our financial accounting standard. That is become one of the major difference between our standard with the IFRS. Even though we are, our standard is substantially similar with the International Financial Reporting Standard. Okay, that's the first one. Second one, we also in our Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard, we also has local standard. What does it mean by local standard? Local standard is the standard that is implemented in Indonesia and applied in Indonesia, but we don't have, or there is no reference in the IFRS. There is no reference of the standard in the International Financial Reporting Standard. So meaning that the International Financial Reporting Standard does not cover that standard. Why is that? Because there's something unique in our country which may not happen in other country. So that's why we need we need to have a regulation or have a standard on that. So that's the second difference, the second major difference. And then the third one is a carve out. Carve out means that we convergent or we adopt or we refer to the International Financial Reporting Standard for a certain standard. However, we take out some of the requirements or paragraphs in the measurement or in the disclosure or in the definition, etc. So there's some difference within the particular standard. So we call it as carve out or partial carve out. Okay, so these are the three main differences between our Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard with the International Financial Reporting Standard. And that's why we say that Indonesia is convergent with the IFRS, but not fully adopting IFRS yet at the moment. Okay, so so far any questions, or is it clear enough? All right. Now, yeah. So now you understand. We are not yet fully adopting IFRS, but we are. Our standard, our Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard is substantially similar with the IFRS, and that's why we call it as convergent, not full adoption, but it's convergent. I want to emphasize that so that you understand the concept, the difference between convergent and adoption. All right, and then second, move to the next. Is so what do we have right now? What do we have? What do we have as accounting standard in Indonesia? Okay, you need to pay attention on the picture on the left hand side, which only has three pillars or three, what is that? Yeah, three pillars. Pillar 1, pillar 2, and pillar 3. Okay, so that is the standard in Indonesia before we are adopting International Financial Reporting Standard fully. Okay, so I will explain that. So here you have the blue triangle as AK, which means the Standar Akuntansi Keuangan or Financial Accounting System. Sorry, Financial Accounting Standard. So the financial accounting standard here means that this is the house of all the standards that we have in Indonesia. So what do we have? First one, we have Standar Akuntansi Keuangan or Financial Accounting Standard, which applies for entities. This is the most comprehensive standards that we have, As we said, or as I mentioned before, this is referring to the International Financial Reporting Standard and substantially similar, but not 100% similar. Okay, and then in the second pillar, we have the Standar Akuntansi Keuangan or Financial Accounting Standard for private entities, or we call it SAKEP, SAKEP. This standard is actually equal and will replace the previous one, which is the Financial Accounting Standard for entities without public accountability, or we call it in Indonesia as SAK ETAP. Standar akuntansi keuangan untuk entitas tanpa akuntabilitas publik. Okay, and then you will ask, what about for micro entities, small entities, and maybe also medium entities? They don't have enough resources and capabilities, capacity to prepare financial statement by referring to the SAK in Pillar 1, even to SAK EP or ETAP in Pillar 2, because they are really small. They need a more simple standard which can be applicable to their entity. And that's why we have Pillar 3, which is the Financial Accounting Standard for micro, small, and medium entities, or we call it the SAK untuk entitas mikro, kecil, menengah. Okay, so then if you have a micro entity, for example, and you need to prepare financial statement, why? Maybe because you need financing, you need to apply for financing or funding to an institution, to an investor, then you will need to prepare financial statement. But it's not possible for you to prepare it by using the SAK in Pillar 1 because it's too comprehensive, too complex, and too difficult to prepare for your micro entity. And you cannot also use SAK for EP or ETAP because it's still too complex for your entity. It's a micro entity. So then you can use the SAK, EM, KM. It's really simple, really easy to prepare financial statement by using the SAK, EM, KM. Okay, so that's all that we have, but we also have this one, the conceptual framework or kerangka konseptual plus Syariah accounting standard. Yeah, what is it for? The Syariah accounting standard is a set of standards for entities that has to report and prepare and recognize Sharia transaction. Because when they have Sharia transaction, they cannot use the other standards, which is the SAK or SAK EP or SAK EMKM. They need a specific standard for Sharia transaction. And that's why we, or the standard setter here, add the PSAK Sharia for entities that has to report, recognize, and also measure Sharia transaction. All right. So those that we have. And then now in the year of 2022, as an effort to fulfill our commitment, we are in the process of adding one pillar, the red one in the right hand side. Can you see the red one? The red one, the red colored one, Pillar 1, SAKI. So that means Pillar 1, SAK International, or the International Financial Accounting Standard in Indonesia. So this is an addition. This is a new one that is inserted in this year. And the exposure draft is issued on the last April. So it was just like a few months ago. Okay, and then we still have the other pillars. Now the green one become Pillar 2 or second pillar, which is the Standar Akuntansi Keuangan. And then we still have the third pillar, SAK for private entity or the entities without public accountability. And the last one is the SAK for AMKM. And then we still have the conceptual framework and PSAK Syariah or Financial Accounting Standard for Syariah. But be careful, the Syariah accounting standard here is only added to the Pillar 2. It's not added into the Pillar 1. So Pillar 1 or the SAK International is the standard, Indonesian accounting standard, which is exactly similar with the International Financial Reporting Standard. So exactly similar mean there's no additional standard, there's no carve out, there's no Sharia accounting standard added into that SAKI. Okay, so you can understand the concept. So the SAK International there is exactly similar, so 100% similar with the International Financial Reporting Standard. The only differences are on the language. Yeah, of course, the International Financial Reporting Standard is using English language, and then the effective date will be different. The effective date could still have like some gap. Okay. Now, so what is the financial accounting standard which are implemented in Indonesia at the moment? The first one is the financial accounting standard, the green pillar. It's effective on the 1st of January 2022. That means the most recent one is effective by 1st of January 2022, but most of the standards are already effective beforehand. Second is the financial accounting standard for private entity, effective on the 1st of January 2025. And this will replace the number 3, financial accounting standard for entities without public accountability. The financial accounting standard for entities without public accountability is effective on the 1st of January 2011. So it's been around for a while. Yeah, and then we will change it into the SAKEP, financial accounting standard for private entity, by 1st of January 2025. So we still have like 3 years to prepare to receive that standard become effective. And the last one, the financial accounting standard for entities for micro, small, and medium entities, effective by 1st of January 2018. Okay, and because this year we already finished our process in translating, fully translating the IFRS, we add this right-hand side box, the SAK International Financial Accounting Standard, which is effective on the 1st of January, proposed to be effective on the 1st of January 2023. So by 1st of January next year. Okay, so that's all that we have. And the current accounting standard in Indonesia consists of, again, the 4 standards: financial accounting standards or SAK, effective 1st of January 2022, and etc. Okay, and then we add the International Financial Accounting Standard, or in Indonesia we call it SAK International or SAKI. SAKI is a full adoption of IFRS. So it's a word-by-word translation of the International Financial Reporting Standard. So exactly similar, no carve out, no addition, no changes. And then the proposed effective date is 1st of January 2023. And then the exposure draft of this standard has been published on the 8th of April 2022, just a few months ago. It's still hot on the table. So you can access through that that link that I provide, https://bit.ly/saki-pilar-nomenklatur. And the public hearing has been conducted on the 21st of June 2022. Okay, so if you are interested, yeah, I encourage you to download the material because they have a comprehensive explanation in Indonesian language. If you are using Indonesian language, that will be much easier for you to understand as well. And you can also provide your comment because it's still, I think it's still in the comment period. Okay, so it's still just exposure draft. It's not issued yet. The standard is not issued yet. We are still waiting for any comment on the exposure draft, whether you agree or disagree on the effective date, on the name of the standard, for example. Even you can propose a name, a new name of the standard, right? Okay, now about the export draft of the International Financial Accounting Standard, or SAK International. Again, it's a word-for-word translation of IFRS. There is no differences from International Financial Reporting Standards other than the effective date differences, and of course the language. The language is different. Okay, so now what's actually the difference between our current financial accounting standard, the green pillar? If you can recall again, the green pillar is the SAK, and then the red pillar is the international SAK, or the International Financial Accounting Standard. So we are talking about our current standard that you are usually referring to, that you are usually reading or writing based on, that is the second pillar, the standar akuntansi keuangan. Okay, and the proposed one is the pillar 1, the International Financial Accounting Standard, or the SAKI. Okay, so what's the difference between the SAK and SAKI? So there are at least 6 differences. First one, number of the standards. The number of the standards in the IFRS consists of 16 IFRS, 25 International Accounting Standard, 15 interpretation, and 5 SIC. They are the interpretation. And then the SAK, the green one, is on the third column. We have 43 Statement of Financial Accounting Standard, or PSAK. This is the Statement of Financial Accounting Standard, plus 20 interpretation. Okay, so what do you think about the number? Not too bad, right? Because I first have 41 standard and then 20 interpretation. So it's almost similar, right? We have 43 statement, PSAK, and 20 interpretation. Whereas IFRS has 16 plus 25 standard, the IFRS and the IAS. So how many is that? 41, right? 41 standard and then 20 interpretation. How can it almost similar? Second, what about standards not adopted in our financial accounting standard, the green pillar? The green pillar not adopting 2 IFRS, 3 interpretation on IFRIC, and 1 interpretation on SIC. So these are the difference. We don't adopt 2 International Financial Reporting Standard, 3 interpretation in the IFRIC, and 1 interpretation in the SIC is not adopted at the moment. And the third difference is local standards without the reference in the IFRS, meaning that IFRS do not cover that issues in their standards. We have 4. We have 4 such standard and 4 interpretation. We will look at that later on. And then 4, the differences with IFRS due to partial carve out that I mentioned before. Indonesian accounting standard adopt some of the international financial reporting standard, not in full statement. They carve out partially into accounting standard and 5 international accounting standard. So total 7 standard. We have carved out in the 7 standards. So just like in the third column, it says compared with 7 statement of financial accounting standard. Okay, number 5. What about standards which are substantially similar with IFRS? So that means the remainder, right? The adopted 32 statement of financial accounting standard and 16 interpretation of SAK. Okay, so we already adopt that. And that is referring to, of course, 32 statement in the IFRS, which are 12 international financial reporting standard plus 20 IAS, International Accounting Standard. So total 32, equal, right? And then 12 IFRIC and 4 SIC. So that means 16 interpretation. Okay, so these are the standards which are substantially similar with IFRS. Okay, and then the standard with the effective date of later than 2021. There's one IFRS and we adopted our convergent into one PSAK or the Statement of Financial Accounting Standard. So here, maybe you need to find out what is the abbreviation. So I would like to have a quiz. What is the abbreviation? What does it mean by IFRIC or IFRIC? IFRIC. What is it? Anyone knows? You can raise your hand if you know. And then SIC. What is SIC? Anyone knows? What is IFRIC and SIC? Okay, you can just type down your answer if you know. Okay, so just to grab more understanding on the standard that we are referring to. Okay, what about PSAK? PSAK is Pernyataan Standar Akuntansi Keuangan. So what's the difference between PSAK and SAK? Anyone knows? What's the difference between PSAK and SAK? So anyone answer or not? PSAK is Pernyataan Standar Akuntansi Keuangan. That is the statement inside the SAK. SAK is the book, the total book or the total standard. The PSAK is the statement, each of the statement inside the standard. So for example, PSAK 1 means it's talking about something and then next until to the end. All right. Now the table here excludes Sharia accounting standard and interpretation. So how many Sharia accounting standard do we have? At the moment, we have 13 Sharia accounting standard, 13 statement of Sharia accounting standard. So 13 statements, that means 13 PSAK. And then 2 interpretation. And those are not covered by IFRS. Okay, so we get it from others' reference. Okay, any questions so far? Not yet? Okay, now about the local. We have also, as I mentioned before, we have local local PSAK or local statement of financial accounting standard, as well as the interpretation of the standard. What does it mean by local? It means that there is no reference in the IFRS or IAS or IFRIC or SIC. So it's really original on our own due to our unique setting in Indonesia. We need standards which are not covered by the IFRS, but we really need that. That's why we have these local standards. It's a unique one. What are they? There are for PSAK and for ISAC, so it's the same, right? The first one is the PSAK 28, akuntansi kontra asuransi kerugian. Why do we need this? Because there is no specific requirements in the IFRS 4, right? However, this local standard will be covered in PSAK 74, which is referring to IFRS, because now the IFRS is covering this subject or covering this issue, but it's not effective yet at the moment, so we are still waiting the PSAK 74 to become effective. When the PSAK 74 become effective, then the PSAK 28 will be withdrawal, will be withdrawn from the standards in Indonesia. Okay. The second one is the PSAK 36, akuntansi kontra asuransi jiwa, or the insurance for accounting for life insurance contract. Okay, why we need that as a local standard? Because there's no specific requirements in IFRS 4. This standard, however, or this issue will be covered again in PSAK 74 when it becomes effective. So when it becomes effective, when the PSAK 74 become effective, PSAK 36 will be withdrawn from the accounting standard in Indonesia. Third one is PSAK 38, business combination for entities under common control, or kombinasi bisnis entitas sepengendali. Why we need that? Because there is at the moment, there is no IFRS covering BCUCC. What is BCUCC? Business combination for entities under common control. So you know entities under common control, for example, Indofood as a parent company, they have like 10 subsidiaries. So all these 10 subsidiaries are entities under common control, which is the Indofood as a parent entity. Okay, so if those subsidiaries are combining each other, so that means it's a combination of business for entities under common control. There's different accounting system for the business combination for entities under common control compared to the ordinary combination of entities not under common control. And that's why we need to regulate that separately. And why? Because that happens a lot in Indonesia compared to other countries. Maybe in other countries, there's no such transaction, which is the business combination for entities under common control. Why? Because their structure of ownership is different from ours. Companies in Indonesia are mostly controlled by or have ownership concentration, have high ownership concentration, and that's why it's really unique in our setting, and thus we need this PSAK 38. If one day IFRS decided to cover this business combination for entities under common control, then we can refer to their standards and we can withdraw PSAK 38. Okay, but at the moment, there's no such standard in the IFRS. That's why we need this local standard. Number 4 is PSAK 70, which is the accounting for asset and liability in the tax amnesty. Yeah, so akuntansi aset dan liabilitas pengampunan pajak. It's a local issue happen in Indonesia, and that's why it's not covered in the International Financial Reporting Standard. But we need to have this, so we have this local standard. Okay, and the others are the interpretation, which are the ISAC 31st, ISAC 32, ISAC 35, and ISAC 36. So those to address local issue, including local issue related to the definition of standar akuntansi keuangan, financial accounting standard in our accounting standard itself, because we have our own definition of financial accounting standard in PSAK 1 and PSAK 25, and that's why we need to have a specific interpretation in the ISAK 32. Okay, so those are the second difference, which are the local standards. The third one is the partial carve out. Okay, so what is partial carve out? Partial carve out is when we adopt or convergent with the International Financial Reporting Standard, but we take out, or we eliminate, or we are not implementing, we are not requiring some requirements in the standard. So for example, the first one, in IFRS 4, insurance contracts, we adopt this, or we are referring to that standard and adopt that into PSAK 62, kontra asuransi, insurance contract. However, IFRS 4 requires undiscounted measurement of insurance liability, but we decided not to adopt this undiscounted measurement of insurance liability because it will be conflicting with PSAK 28 and PSAK 36. And you know, before, the PSAK 28 and 36 here is our local standard. And that's why IFRS do not have such conflict, but we have. Why? Because we have this local standards. So you understand that? And that's why we carve out, we take out some of the requirements. And almost similar for the second one, in the IFRS 10, consolidated financial statement, we adopt into PSAK 65, laporan keuangan konsolidasian. However, we are not adopting the exception on the presentation of consolidated financial statement for parent entity, and etc. Including the third one, in the International Accounting Standard number 1, presentation of financial statement, we adopt this, we refer to this to have the PSAK 1, penyajian laporan keuangan. However, there's a difference between these two, because we in PSAK 1 defines SAK as a statement and interpretation published by the accounting standard setter in Indonesia, DSAKIAI, and DSASIAI, Dewan Syariah, Dewan Standar Akuntansi Syariah IAI, and capital market regulator. Here, we include capital market regulator, whereas the definition of IFRS in IAS 1 does not cover regulator, and etc. So these are the carve out. We have 2 IFRS, 5 IAS, and 7 PSAK. So total actually 7 differences, because of the partial carve out. Okay. And then next, this is the second exposure draft. The second exposure draft is about the pillar of the financial accounting standard. Okay, so the pillar itself, the red one, green one, and then the brown one, those are the pillar. The background of this draft is, why do we need the draft? First one, because of the establishment of the International Financial Accounting Standard. Because we have because we add international financial accounting standard into the Indonesian standard, then we have to regulate or clarify the differences. And those are the pillars. Second, there are a number of accounting standards in Indonesia. As I mentioned before, we have 4 accounting standards. We need to clarify which entity can use certain accounting standards. For example, your company is listed in the Indonesia Stock Exchange, but you want to use like accounting standard for small, medium, micro, small, medium entity. So are you eligible for that? Of course not, because it will not fulfill the needs to provide informative financial statement. And that's why we need to regulate such kind of situation. Which standard would be applicable for which entities? Okay, and that's why then the standard setter issued exposure draft of the pillar on the 18th of April 2022. What are those pillars? There are 4 pillars for framework or for frame or pillar. Do you know the term pillar? Pillar first, or the first pillar is International Financial Accounting Standard. The second pillar is the Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard. The third pillar is the Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard for private entity or the entities without public accountability. And the fourth pillar is the Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard for micro, small, and medium entity. Also, in that exposure draft, there's a clarification on the criteria for entities' eligibility to apply a particular financial accounting standard and whether they can change into different pillars. So for example, a listed company will have to use the second pillar, which is the Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard. However, for example, they would like to use pillar number 3. Is it possible? So this draft is regulating that. That should not be any down changes. I mean, like when a company is supposed to use second pillar, they cannot use the third pillar. But if a company is supposed to use third pillar, they can use the second pillar. So they can move up, but they cannot move down. Why? Again, because the goals, the objective of financial reporting is to provide information that is useful for business decision making, for economic decision making. So it has to be really fulfilling the all qualitative characteristic required in the financial statement. Okay, and then the last one is the proposed effective date is on the 1st of January 2023. Okay, so I will show you. This is the pillar of the standard. Again, the red one is the first pillar. This is the International Financial Accounting Standard, the word-by-word translation of the IFRS. Second one is Standar Akuntansi Keuangan. This is the standard which substantially similar with the International Financial Reporting Standard, but there are still major differences, including the inclusion or the addition of the Sharia accounting standard, the local standard, and the carve out from IFRS standards. Okay, so those are the difference between SAKI and SAK, between the red one and the green one. The third one is the financial accounting standard for the private entity, and the yellow one, sorry, the orange one is the financial accounting standard for micro, small, and medium entities. Okay, so these are the pillar, and then yeah, the pillar also explain about which entities eligible to use that standard. Yeah, so just like this, if an entity with the public accountability, if there's an entity with public accountability, they cannot use financial accounting standard for entities without public accountability or third pillar. Okay, so understand, if there's an entity which have public accountability, they cannot use accounting standard in pillar 3 because it says it's financial accounting standard for entities without public accountability only. Okay, so you cannot go there. You have to use pillar 2 or accounting standard in pillar number 2, or they can move up into the SAKI or the International Financial Accounting Standard, which is in pillar 1. However, if these entities have Sharia transactions, they cannot use pillar 1. Why? Because pillar 1 does not accommodate any Sharia transaction, any differences from IFRS. So you got the point here? Right. So if an entity is a public or has public accountability, they actually may use pillar 2 or pillar 1, but if they have Sharia transaction, they cannot use standard in pillar number 1 because they still need Sharia accounting standard. They will need to take pillar 2 or the SAK Indonesia. Okay, for the micro entity, they can use pillar number 4. But if they want to use pillar number 3, they may use it. They are allowed to use it. They are permitted to use it. Okay, because they move up. That means they are advanced than their eligibility. Okay. Now here, the information move down can only be done from pillar 1 of the International Financial Accounting Standard to the pillar number 2 Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard, but not for the other. Okay. Okay. What else? Yeah, last one. Yeah, last one is the exposure draft for the numbering system in the accounting standard. Why? Because again, due to the addition of the International Financial Accounting Standard, we need to clarify and consolidate the numbering system in the accounting standard, especially in the International Financial Accounting Standard or SAKI and the SAK Indonesia. So pillar number 1 and number 2 has to be consolidated, and then we need to have a more systematic numbering system so that it will be easier for us to revert to the standard. Okay, what about the numbering system in SAK Indonesia for entitas privat or ETAP? They remain the same with the previous numbering. So the changes only happen for the SAK Indonesia. Okay, and this exposure draft is issued as a consequence of the establishment of International Financial Accounting Standard, and the proposed effective date is the 1st of January 2023. And this is the system that is proposed in the draft number 1 and 2. So in the SAK International and SAK Indonesia, the difference is only in the International SAK, we start with the number with the letter I, whereas for the Indonesian SAK, we start with the letter N, and then in the PSAK, if it's referring to IFRS, we will use number 1. If it's referring to IAS, we will use number 2. And then for ISAC or interpretation, if it's referring to IFRIC, we will use number 1. And if it's referring to SIC, we will use number 2. And then the next number the second and third number, we are using the original number in the IFRS or IS or IFRIC or SIC as a reference. So for example, if we are referring to IFRS 3 in our standard, we will put the name as PSAK I-103 if it's the international standard or SAKI. But if it is SAK, we will put the name as PSAK N-103. So the difference is only on the N or E or I here. So those, and then if in the SAK we are using standard local, then we will start with number 3. If it's Syariah standard, we will start with number 4. Okay, so now we have the system in place to recognize or to cover all of the standards. And this is the example of the numbering system or the new numbering system, which now become in place to replace the old numbering system. Yeah. Okay, any questions so far? And then we also have some other updates. Actually, Indonesia also adopt IFRS 9, yeah, into the PSAK 71 financial instrument. And then revenue recognition on long-term contracts, Indonesia already adopt as well in PSAK 72. Yeah, those are the updates. And then we also have international participation. Indonesia also participate in the International Forum of Standard Setters, which includes International Forum of Accounting Standard Setters or IFAS, and then Emerging Economic Group or EEG, and the Asian Oceanian Standard Setter Group or AOS, ASOC, yeah, we usually call it as ASOC. Yeah, those all. Yeah, any questions?
Yes, Miss. I have a question.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. My question is, as you explained before, IFRS and is AK have a difference. My question is, what is the impact of financial statement in Indonesia?
Okay. Yeah, very good question. So are you Al-Syarafa? Al-Syarafa?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. Yeah. So what is the impact after the implementation, right? So you are thinking more advanced. Yeah, I like it. So it's an advanced question. If we have this SAK as well as AK International, so what will the impact for Indonesian landscape of financial reporting, right? So at the moment, it's still on the draft. So it will be effective on 1st of January 2023. If there's no changes or comments that requires changes. However, when it is implemented, then there will be differences. But actually, we already eliminate all the differences because the SAK itself is substantially similar with the IFRS, yeah, except for entities which have Sharia transaction. So there will be some differences. We expect that. For example, if an entity is reporting using the SAK International, there's no carve out and no local standards. We need to monitor the differences, but it's still maybe the comparability with the financial statement preparing based on the SAK in Pillar 2, there will be some differences, but we don't expect the differences to be that much at the moment. And second, once it is implemented, the SAK International will only be eligible or will only be permitted for entities which are having cross-listing in the international or in other countries stock exchange. Okay, so this SAK International, once it is implemented, will only be permitted for entities which has cross-listing in other stock exchange in other country. So you know what I mean? So for example, a company in Indonesia is also listed in the New York Stock Exchange. Then this company may use pillar number 1, which is the International Financial Accounting Standard. And it will not be permitted for other entities at the moment, but maybe later, while we are preparing on the comparability issue between these two standards or two accounting standards. Okay, so can you get my point? So once it's allowed once it become effective in the 1st of January 2023, SAKI will only be permitted for entities which are cross-listed in foreign stock exchange. They are selling their stocks in a foreign market or foreign stock exchange, and that's why they are permitted to use SAKI, because then if they are already cross-listed in foreign market, there's a high possibility that they are already preparing their financial statement based on the International Financial Reporting Standard. So they are allowed to use this pillar. But for other entities, it's not permitted at the moment, but the process will continue later on. And by doing that, now we can be called as, or the status of Indonesian convergent at the moment, or after we issued SAKI, it became effective. Then the status of Indonesia become IFRS permitted. We call it as IFRS permitted, and it's voluntary for entities which are cross-listed in a foreign market. So it's not mandatory. It's a voluntary adoption of IFRS, but it's only permitted for entities which are cross-listed in the foreign stock exchange. If you are interested about this status, you can go to the IASB website, the International Accounting Standard Board website. They have many status for many countries. The status for IFRS adoption can be mandatory, so meaning that all companies in that country or jurisdiction has to apply IFRS in preparing their financial statement. We call it as mandatory. And second, voluntary. That means entity in that jurisdiction can adopt or refer to the IFRS standard, but voluntarily. They can choose whether they will use those IFRS standard as a basis for preparing their financial statement, or they can use other standard provided in the country or permitted in the jurisdiction. Yeah, and then third one is permitted for particular type of entities. So for example, permitted for foreign companies, or permitted for entities listed in foreign stock exchange, etc. So we are in the third status. We are almost similar with Japan, and I think Korea, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Japan and Korea, perhaps they permit voluntary use of IFRS, and even the US. In the US, the status is voluntary as well. So entities can use IFRS to prepare their financial statement, which is the foreign listed entities. Yeah, so it's voluntary as well. Okay, Al-Sharafa.
Yes, Miss.
Okay, do you have any more questions? No?
Just enough for me. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you. All right. Do you have other question?
Yes, I have any question, Miss.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Nindi, please go
Yes.
ahead.
I am Nindi Rubitasari, and my question is, why will financial accounting standards without public accountability, or SAK ETAP,
Etap. Hmm.
yes, will be replaced by financial accounting standards for private entities? And what are the differences between those types of accounting standards? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Nindi. It's also a very good question. Yeah, why the SAK ETAP is replaced by SAK EP? Yeah, yeah. So actually, we need the standard at that time. Yeah, in 2011 or before. Our country needs a standard for entities without public accountability. And at the moment, the International Financial Reporting Standard still in the process of preparing their standard for small, medium enterprise. So IFRS for SMEs are still in the inception, but it took really long for them to finalize the standard, whereas we are at the moment already really in need of the standard. And that's why we then referring to the standard, but not in full reference. And then we call it as the financial accounting standard for entities without public accountability. And then finally, IFRS has finalized their standard for small medium enterprise and then made it effective. And so after that, we are referring to the full IFRS for SMEs to make it into the financial accounting standard for private entities. So this more comprehensive, more more solid standards, and it has better transparency and articulation in the standard, and that's why we then prepare to adopt this SAK for entitas privat as well. And it's more comprehensive in terms of the requirements for the entities to prepare, for example, the financial instrument, which is quite similar with PSAK 55, if you know, which now already changed into the PSAK 71. So it's more comprehensive, but the thing is more comprehensive, meaning that the companies or the entities also need to provide more information, to provide more effort in preparing their financial statements. And that's why the effective date is still quite some time in the future, which is the 1st of January 2025, because it will require more information compared to the SAK ETAP. Yeah. But what about smaller companies? They don't need to worry, because smaller company, if they're not required to use the SAK EP or SACEP, they may use the SAK for entitas mikro, kecil, and menengah, or the micro, small, and medium enterprise. So that's my response. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Miss. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nindi. Yeah. Thank you, Nindi. Okay. Any other question? So if you are interested into the draft of the financial accounting standards, you can go to the Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia's website. They have all the drafts. The full version of all the standards, including the pillar 1, 2, 3, 4, the full version are not available, are not freely available. But of course, you can access it through your university. I believe so. But the drafts, the exposure drafts, are usually available in the website of Ikatan Akuntan Indonesia. So please visit that website and try to find out the standards that you are interested in. Okay? Yeah. So now, if I have my own question, what is the difference between the SAK in Pilar 2 with the SAK EP in Pilar 3? Now, you need to understand that in each pillar, the more pillar it goes, is the more simple it is. So meaning that Pillar 1 is the most comprehensive one in the requirements, efforts, etc. is the most comprehensive one. And then Pillar 2 is the less comprehensive, or actually it's also comprehensive, but it still covers local standards as well as the Sharia standards. And then Pillar 3 is less comprehensive, less comprehensive than Pillar 2, is much more comprehensive than Pillar 2. And then Pillar number 4 is less comprehensive than Pillar 3. So if you're getting more on the right-hand side, it's less and less comprehensive. So for example, if you are consulting a small, medium enterprise, you can guide them to prepare financial statement based on the pillar number 4, which is the SAK for micro, small, and medium entity. Okay, and then usually carrying on the right-hand side also requires less disclosure, less complex measurement, less disclosure requirements as well. So, for example, in Pillar 4 SAK for the micro, small, medium enterprise or entities, the disclosure requirement is really, really simple. And then it's getting more comprehensive in the SAK for private entity and more comprehensive in the SAK or the Pillar 2. So that's how it goes. So those are still available or provided by the accounting standard setter in Indonesia to accommodate so that all entities in Indonesia which needs to prepare financial statement, they will be able to prepare financial statement. They will not have difficulty because the standard is too complex, too comprehensive, so that they cannot apply that or implement that for their entities. Yeah, so that's why we have this exposure draft of the pillar, right? So we want to retain all of them, even though we already adopt or we will adopt the IFRS fully in pillar number 1, which is the International Financial Accounting Standard. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Habib asked, what is the compatibility of the financial accounting system with the international accounting standard? Habib, is Habib here? Could you explain your questions? SCF? SCF means cash flow, or what do you mean, Habib? Habib, are you here? Can you explain your question so that I can try to address it properly? Habib, Mbak Hanifa, do you know Habib? Habib from which country?
Habib from Yemen.
Hi.
Habib from Yemen.
Oh, from Yemen. Okay, yeah, yeah. I met. I think yeah. He addressed some question as well last time. Very active. Okay. Yeah. What does it mean by ISGP in here? Accounting standard in Indonesia. What is the compatibility of accounting system with the international accounting standard? Yeah, as I mentioned before, we have references. We are referring, our standards are all referring to the international accounting standard. However, there are some major differences in the Indonesian accounting standard with the international financial reporting standard. What are the major differences? In Pillar 2 or SAK, there are 3 main differences here. Habib, if you can see in the milestone here, the main differences are, first one, our standard is covering Sharia accounting standard. And second, it's covering local standard without any reference to IFRS, meaning that IFRS are not covering those issues at the moment. So we have our own local standard. So if we include that in our financial statement, preparing our financial statement by using the local standard, of course, there will be major differences with the IFRS financial statement. And the third ones are the carve out from some of the standards in our accounting standard. And therefore, we have this new version of the fully adopted international financial reporting standard, which is covered in the red pillar here, or the red accounting standard, which is the standard international financial accounting standard in Indonesia. So this is a word by word translation. So it's 100% similar with the international financial reporting standard. However, at the moment, it's only permitted for entities which have foreign listing. Okay, not permitted for any other companies at the moment. While we are waiting the process in the future, but at the first, we only this standard is only permitted for entities which has cross listing in a foreign exchange. Okay, Habib, I think that's my response, Mbak Hanifa. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, any other question?
I think there is no more question, Miss.
Okay. Okay, then.
Thank you so much, Miss, for the great explanation.
Yeah,
We
thank
are
you.
turning to the next agenda is photo session. To all of you guys, please turn on your camera.
Yeah. Okay, here I can see Mbak Fitri and Mbak Nindi. Oh yeah, Abdurrahman. How are you, Abdurrahman?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good as well. Mas Al Syarafa, Mbak Diva. Oh, here, Habib Raja is not open yet. All right, yeah, and then also Mbak Evi. Mbak Evi is my student here. Hello, Mbak Evi.
Bu Yuni.
Yeah, okay. Okay, then, thank you very much, everyone. Wish you all the best. Yeah.
Miss, I counted. Okay, all right, guys, are you ready? I count 1, 2, 3. Once more. 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay, the next agenda is closing. Thank you so much, Miss, for that attractive material. Hopefully, it can help the audience to have a better understanding about the accounting standards and issues. As the master of ceremony, I do apologize for any mistake during this event. Thank you very much and see you at the next event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Terima kasih banyak, Ibu Zuni.
Terima kasih Bu Yuni.
Sama Mbak Fitri, Mbak Evi. Pamit ya.
Ibu, hati-hati. Kok hati-hati? Oke.